Trust in two directions. I had no hope. We never follow instinct. We just don't understand a different situation. We've lost command. My heart's in limbo. Your heart's in limbo. With everybody else, I think that you should learn to love yourself. The man that you love most, the man that brought you here, he's always in your memory, he's always here. My heart's in limbo. Your heart's in limbo.
Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. I was going to come on at 8, but I was just getting myself situated, and I'm making my same old usual excuses on why I don't show up exactly on time. You know, like maybe by like 65% of the time, you know, where I have to go and do the whole explaining and all of that. So, good evening to you all. I hope as I said, everybody's doing well. And here on the chat line, I see that we have Warren, and saying here, hola, it is Tito Puente and Max Sarge. How are you doing? With Hey Warren, a peace report, maximum overdrive. Hello, everyone, says Snipe Hunter, otherwise known as College Buddy. Hello, Willie and his girlfriends in the background. Yes, the ultimate dream, the ultimate dream. I mean, I know the chemistry isn't there, but it looks like the chemistry is there. I mean, that's what counts, right? Beautiful, beautiful. But let me clear this here, and sorry about that, everyone. You would think that certain issues in the culture war will have come to rest. I don't expect people to sit there, even socially conservative people, to sit there at the idea of same-sex marriage and act like, gee, that's so wonderful. But I thought they were kind of like, well, it's not bothering them. I guess they have their rights. I thought they were coming to that conclusion. Not exactly a libertarian position. If it is, it will be a begrudgingly one. And I'm not criticizing libertarians here. I'm just saying that's how some of the more good faith conservative actors may act from time to time. They're like, well, I guess it's here. Might as well stop griping about it, But you remember the big old culture war that existed 20 years ago. I mean, during the George W. Bush Dick Cheney regime, they acted like this was the most horrible thing that's ever happened. And this is what we're going to talk about because they're bringing this shit back. But before we do, I'm going to go into something that's slightly unrelated and very short. Is a Bill Burr comedy sketch. And he speaks a lot of truths in the ways that, some other comedians, like Tim Dillon would speak truths and all of that. Ron Placone, which Ron Placone don't get enough say around here, but, he too. So anyway, here's some Bill Burr I'm going to share with you all right now. Give me 2 seconds here. I've got to do this here. That is taken care of. Okay, Bill Burr for you all, and he's commenting on this human shields argument that people says when it comes to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and this is what he has to say.
I mean, as a comedian, I can't call a fat fuck anymore. All right, even if he took my last slice of pizza and is denying it with pepperoni on his breath, I can't be like, you fat man-titted cunt. I know what you did. Own up to it. Yeah, I'm not allowed to do that, but it's still socially acceptable to shoot a missile in the general direction of somebody you're upset with. You're like, dude, there was like kids over there. This is my favorite response. Well, they're using kids as human shields. It's like, well, you got to work around that. Jesus Christ, if I'm mad at my neighbor and I want to beat the shit out of him, but he's holding a baby, right? I wouldn't come in and try to punch him through the baby. Yeah, you go in, you throw a hook, you sweep the legs. You do it on the lawn so the baby bounces off the grass, all right? I mean, as a comedian, I can't call a fat fuck anymore.
And that's Bill Burr with his bit of wisdom about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It may be, the human shields argument, the self-defense, they fire some firecrackers, and then Hamas fires some firecrackers, and Israel responds with 4 firecrackers responding with 400 rockets, that sort of thing. And they certainly they don't give a damn about human shields today, because what we're seeing right there is an actual genocide. So something to be aware of, and all of that. So let's go back to another subject at hand. The subject we were going to talk about, and the subject at hand is, of course, Kimberly Davis. Kimberly Davis, who was a county clerk in Kentucky, in Rowan County. I think, was it Rowan County, Kentucky? I believe. Anyway, well, Kim Davis, a former county clerk, who made headlines in 2015 for refusing to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple, will bring the appeal to the Supreme Court this fall. Now, the court decision, Obergefell decision that basically recognized same-sex marriage as a constitutional right in 2015, and for society that doesn't get too much good news, and that's the way of life more than the exception in America. And I had no dog in this fight. I'm straight, but not only did I not care if two people of the same gender gets married, I'm actually okay with it. It's cool. It's cool. And for people to act like it's like the worst thing that's ever happened, it's crazy. And here's the thing: people like this Karen here, and as I said in the title, Kim Davis needs to mind her own damn business, because and some people can say, well, her rights are being violated when the same-sex couple went to get the license and she wouldn't give them the license. She's paid by taxpayers to do her fucking job. So, and I'm sure she probably is one of those types that don't believe in interracial marriage. What if she decided that there's an interracial couple, white, black, let's say, coming in, and she doesn't believe in interracial marriage? People will be like up in arms about this shit, So it applies to same-sex couples. They have a right. She doesn't have to sit there and celebrate it. She doesn't have to sit there and act like it's the most wonderful thing in the world. She can hate all she wants, but she needs to do her fucking job, keep her mouth shut, and I don't mean by censorship, but just do her job, issue the damn license, and let her, and if she wants to be a bigoted Karen, I wouldn't counsel her for being a bigoted Karen, but I would cancel her for violating the rights of other people. It's a simple open and shut case. Now, a church, if a church didn't believe in same-sex marriage, you get, in an evangelical Protestant type church, or you get Mormons, or you get the Roman Catholic Church, Eastern Orthodoxy, most the Muslim temples, what have you, out there that don't believe in same-sex marriage. Guess what? As much as I frown on it, they have a right to not do it. But the couples that want to get married, that happens to be members of those denominations, they can go to, there are plenty of churches, there are plenty of religious institutions that will accept their rights to marriage. So that's the fine line right there, when the Respect for Marriage Act took place. And that's another thing right there I'm going to talk about in just a second, with regard to marriage, the Respect for Marriage Act. She's trying to get the Supreme Court to overturn this decision. And I hope that they don't. But if they do, I don't necessarily think that same-sex marriage is going to end up being banned in 50 states for this reason, because the Respect for Marriage Act is the law of the land right now. You have a federal law, that's codified at this point, unless they actually rescind the law once the Supreme Court overturned same-sex marriage. Then you got a fucking problem. So I don't know how likely it is that they would overturn it, because even with the Republican Senate, there are some Republicans that don't have a problem with same-sex marriage. And to their credit, to the last of the remaining Republicans who are moderate and not a bunch of crazy, tent revivalist bigots, I'm glad that there's some people like that. But anyway, there's an article from Reason Magazine, and basically it's kind of a libertarian take. And again, when it comes to libertarianism, when it comes to economics, I am the furthest thing from a libertarian. I'm pretty much a state interventionist in the economy. I mean, I don't mean just what they call the nanny state. I mean, I favor heavy nationalization of whole industries in this country. I do. Maybe not every industry. I mean, I wouldn't go 100% the way it was done, let's say in the Soviet Union and other such states. But I would to that level. But I certainly think that I look at Yugoslavia under Tito as kind of a model. I would say if you wanted to find my personal socialism, and this is connected with libertarianism here. If you wanted to find my socialism, it's somewhat of a cross between the Nordic models of Norway, Sweden, and what Tito had in Yugoslavia, which was basically decentralized public ownership of the means of production. So anyway, suffice to say, let's go ahead with this article. I'm just saying I have no problem with the libertarians on social issues for the most part. It's just economics. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm so long-winded sometimes it isn't even funny. So, all righty. Well, let's get to that article right now, shall we? Okay, here we go. Reason, and as I said, it's a libertarian publication. The Bolo Cole conspiracy, gay marriage. Why the Supreme Court is highly unlikely to overturn Obergefell in the Kim Davis case. My Cato Institute colleague Walter Olson explains. Okay, Kim Davis, a former Kentucky county clerk who was sued for refusing to issue marriage license to same-sex couples, has filed a petition asking the Supreme Court to overturn Obergefell versus Hodges, the landmark 2015 ruling striking down laws banning same-sex marriage. 10 years after the Supreme Court extended marriage rights to same-sex couples nationwide, the justices this fall will consider for the first time whether to take up a case that explicitly asks them to overturn that decision. Don't do it. Kim Davis, the former Kentucky county clerk, who was jailed for 6 days in 2015 after refusing to issue a marriage license to a gay couple on religious grounds, is appealing a $100,000 jury verdict for emotional damages plus $260,000 for attorney fees. In a petition for writ of a certificatory, that's a legal term, filed last month, Davis argues First Amendment protection for free exercise of religion immunize her from personal liability for the denial of marriage license. Funny how conservatives look, some conservatives, just like some people on the left, like some of the more shit liberty SJW types on the left are the same. They don't favor free speech. A lot of the conservatives who do it as a virtue signal. I'm a free speech guy. Facts over feelings. you just can't take it. You're just going to have to lump it. They turn into little bitchy snowflakes when somebody challenges them, and they want to go and silence people that disagree with them every time. More fundamentally, she claims the high court decision in Obergefell versus Hodges extending marriage rights for same-sex couples under the 14th Amendment due process protection was egregiously wrong. I have been getting media calls about this and have seen expressions of concerns from people worried about it. My Cato Institute colleague, Walter Olson, has a helpful Facebook post explaining why such fears are likely misguided. I will reprint it. I reprint it here with his permission. And this is from the Facebook posting. Dozens of friends are freaking out at news reports that Kim Davis, the disgraced Kentucky clerk, who has struck out in court up to now in asking the Supreme Court to overturn Obergefell on the same-sex marriage ruling. I understand why people are getting upset, but here's why this story doesn't even make it up to the number 200 on my list of current worries. Pretty much anyone with a pulse who's exhausted other avenues can file the legal term, I cannot pronounce the name, I'm sorry, petition that it doesn't mean that the Supreme Court will hear the case, let alone agree to revisit one of its most famous rulings, let alone resolve it the wrong way. Quote unquote, people said they weren't going to overturn Roe versus Wade. Then they did. Court watchers have known literally for decades that there was a big chance Roe versus Wade could go. Overturning it was the number one project, much to the legal right, through countless confirmation battles. Thousands of anti-Roe meetings were held and articles published. There was no comparable head steam on Obergefell, or really any head steam at all. That's a good point. Terrible things are happening, and I don't want to be told that I am overreacting, quote unquote. I agree that terrible things are happening. Accurately addressing which terrible things have serious probability of happening soon is essential in directing our energy to where it can go, where it can do the most good. Quote unquote, I don't trust the Supreme Court. I sure as hell don't these days, but you don't have to trust them, but you should practice the most useful skill in court watching. Counting to 5. The anti-forces will get Thomas and probably Alito. Roberts was strongly against it at the time, but have been careful to treat it as legitimate precedent since. Gorsuch usually sides with religious litigants, but also wrote Bostock, I guess that's a case from the past, the most important gay rights decision in years. Oh, I think I know which one that is. Robert raised eyebrows by joining him. Most people who knows Barrett and Kavanaugh believe them to have zero appetite for reopening the issue. Trump isn't pushing it for it. Granting cert takes 4 votes, overturning the case 5. I don't see Davis getting even 3 on the questions of whether to overturn Obergefell. Each time I write a version of this prediction, I get called rude names, as if I were consciously misleading people for some failed purpose. But as someone with a real rights on my own at stake, I'm just saying to give you my honest reading. We'll probably know within 3 months whether the court will hear Davis' case, and if so, on what questions it persists. Save your anger till then. I could post this article here, but basically he's kind of putting the arrest to the notion that he doesn't think the case is going to really transpire into same-sex marriage being overturned. I have said this about Roe versus Wade, that they will never overturn Roe versus Wade, and yet 3 years ago, that's what happened. Now, I can argue that Roe versus Wade was chipped away over the years. It was getting chipped away, And you can make an argument that by the time Roe versus Wade was overturned, that basically the United States was basically by 2022 where the United States was in 1968, 69, 70, 71, 72, where some states had very legal access to abortion. Some states pretty much almost banned it totally. And that maybe the Roe versus Wade was a formality of just overturning it. But then some of the states that went super aggressive afterwards. And, for those that believe in reproductive rights, you have to blame the Democrats because they had an opportunity. And they could have picked up even a few moderate Republicans doing this to codify this personal rights for women, to codify it into national law. And they didn't. I think that they were smart to do this with same-sex marriage, to codify it into federal law with the Respect for Marriage Act. Because if they overturn same-sex marriage in the Supreme Court, they're not going to be able to, the states are not going to be able to ban it. Your Texas, your Florida, and we know how Governor Hot Wheels wants to violate the rights of the LGBTQ people. We know how Tallahassee DeSantis down in Florida, Tallahassee Mussolini, shall I say? We know how he wants to go and violate people's rights just to do it, because they're assholes who can't mind their own business, just like Kim Davis, who can't mind her own damn business. I mean, to me, it is just an open and shut case of personal rights. Your rights. What about the rights, the First Amendment rights of same-sex couples and the LGBTQ community? They don't care about their rights. It's selfishness. It's all these people care about is their own damn special rights. Rights for me, but not for thee, as the saying goes. And when I hear a bunch of people on the conservative side of the equation, and again, not every conservative, but the partisan thing about, oh yeah, conservative women, they're hotter than liberal women. Really? Take a look at that. Now, look, I'm not gay, but that's all there were to women. Maybe I would be gay after looking at that. I couldn't sleep with that. That's horrific. That's horrible to look at. Sitting there saying, conservative women, and these liberal women, they all look like Rosie McDonald. I mean, look at this thing. Look at her. I'm not trying to be objectify, maybe a little bit, because I'm trying to go ahead and throw the argument back at them. But to make a point. Now, I'm not trying to, I'm not a misogynist and all of that. So any women who's watching this, I apologize if there's any offense and all of that. But I am trying to make a point here, And my point is this, that at the end of the day, people like Kim Davis and people in Congress like a Marjorie Taylor Greene type, although she's been correct about Israel lately, about the funding for Israel, I have to give her that. And shame on AOC for, virtue signaling over the years as basically a soft anti-Zionist. And then all of a sudden she started becoming a soft Zionist. Shame on you, AOC. Shame on you. You're a grifter, just like Tulsi Gabbard is a grifter. You two are two peas in a pod. I wish you both were LGBTQ in your own way. But, one can dream, right? But anyhow. So thing about it is that you know, I just think that it's good for people to mind their own damn business at the end of the day. I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't like about conservatism and the right wing, but I tolerate it because I believe in a free society. They even have a right to organize and to advocate the bad ideas. Liberals, because I'm not a liberal. I want to make that distinction. I'm not a liberal. You scratch a liberal, you find a conservative. And as Chris Hedges said, you know, you stick the Democratic Party in Europe, it's about the same as any conservative party, any Christian Democratic Party, as some of them call themselves in that continent. You know, maybe on some social issues, the Democrats are maybe further left, but those parties might even be further left than the Democrats on things like healthcare, depending on which country, of course. But the point I'm trying to make is that people should mind their own damn business, and you know, how dare anybody go around, you know, trying to dictate their personal morals. I don't try to dictate my morals to people, you know, and you know, and again, I don't want the actual Sharia law that exists in Saudi Arabia, but I do not want Christian Sharia either that exists in the form of people like Kim Davis or John Hagee or folks in the past like a Pat Robertson or Jerry Falwell or someone of that nature. I remember these things from back then. So, because I'm a 56-year-old fart. Remember that. Stuff like that helped me motivate to be on the left. One of the reasons I could never be a Republican. And I can't be a Democrat because the Democrats are where the Republicans were when George W. Bush was president. So it puts me in a corner in this country. But that, you know, that's neither here nor there. I hope I would try. Sometimes I will. It's been a while. Sometimes I will surprise you with a live stream in the weekend. I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I'm not sure. What I'm going to say though, if you like what you heard, however, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment and share. Drop the like button because it helps with the algorithms. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time. Also, remember this. We need to reject corporate media because, you know, what does the corporate media like to do? They like to go and tell us why we need to go and fight wars in other countries and why we need to privatize Social Security or means tested and why we don't need Medicare for all. It's just a pipe dream, you know, and why, you know, Russia, it's just the controls this country when Bibi is a bigger problem than Putin ever could be, you know, this sort of thing. You know, so we need to reject corporate media. We need independent media more than ever because Fox News and Newsmax and OAN, they preach dog shit. CNN, MSNBC, and some of these other networks, same thing. So you need to go where you can trust people in good faith, and that's anti-corporate media. Reject corporate media. Go with independent media wherever you find it, and all of that. So, having that said, if you like what, having that said, free and pardon Ed Snowden, free Palestine, free healthcare for all, preserving the First Amendment for all, free speech, and fuck Kim Davis. Y'all take care. Love y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. Toodaloo, as they say. Bye-bye.